York City can be overwhelming if you've never been here, and in this video, I'm going to share my best tips and hacks as a lifetime New Yorker. What? Am I gonna get scammed?
We're in the subway now. It smells just wonderful. You'll know what I mean when you get here. LaGuardia is the cheapest way to get to the city. Only $2.90. Isn't that amazing?
So that you can blend in, stay safe, and have your best time ever. So let's get to the first tip. Budgeting for your trip. I hate to break this news to you, but New York City is the most expensive city on the planet. So I do recommend you start saving for your trip early so that you can do everything you want to do the first time you're here. I have a video all about the average cost of things in a city. It's about what to budget when you come here. So we'll tell you the average cost of a hotel, the cost of dining, the cost of a cocktail, which is shockingly expensive, and much more. You can really use that as a guideline when planning your budget here, and I will link that video below for you. Make sure you watch it, it will help you a lot. Do you need cash? For the most part, the answer to this question is no, you really don't need cash here. Almost every single place accepts credit cards. There are a few exceptions, and that really comes to tipping. For example, if you go on one of the tours by my company, Funky Experiences, and you love your guide, they definitely appreciate a tip in cash. This also can go with restaurants. Now, with restaurants, you can always tip on the credit card, but cash is always appreciated because the credit card company does take a little fee with that. So you are good in this city for the most part, just with your credit card, but it's always good to have a little bit of cash on hand, especially if you're going on some tours. For those of you traveling internationally, you will need your phone to work while you're here, and for that, you're going to need a eSIM. I recommend using Aloft for this. I've used them all over the world, and they have a great package for only $19 for unlimited 4G data here in New York. It's fantastic, super reliable, super fast, really easy to use. The reason you don't want to not have your phone work is because in order to get around the subway, to pull up your tickets for attractions, you're going to need internet connection. And without that, it's gonna be really difficult for you. If you're traveling to multiple countries on your trip, you can actually use them in over 160 destinations around the world, all at 4G speeds. To buy the eSIM with Aloft, it's super simple. It takes literally 1 minute to add this to your phone. And the best part, in my opinion, in addition to getting all that data for only $19, is that you can keep your actual SIM card from your home phone destination in your phone. I always get nervous when I have to pull out that and put in a local SIM card because they're really small and easy to lose, and you don't have to worry about that here. Once you check out, they're gonna give you a QR code. That QR code, you scan that and it just gets added right away, and now you have access to all of the data. It's amazing. Now, I have a special promo code for you to benefit you even more.
To get your eSIM, use the link in my video description and code SarahFunky to save 5%.
Enjoy traveling the city with unlimited 4G data. That is pretty amazing. Where do you There you're gonna find much cheaper rates, and you're gonna have a more local experience. Plus, you'll still have access to this. So it's a great hack if you're on a budget. How do you get from the airport to the city center? Well, let's talk about the different airports here in New York City. There are 3 of them: Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia. I recommend you fly into whatever gives you the cheapest flight because they are all pretty close to the city. If you want to take a taxi or car service like Uber, Lyft, or Revel from the airport, you need to make sure that it is a real one. The easiest way to do this is to simply use the app, use Revel, Lyft, or Uber to book your car. And I have some promo codes right here for you. I always find that Lyft has the lowest prices, but if you use the promo codes, you kind of choose. I download all the apps and then I check in the moment, and that kind of helps. But if you want to use a taxi is also an option. We have a taxi line, you can follow that. Now, as you're leaving the airport, you may be approached by people saying taxi, car service, taxi, car service. These people could be real taxi drivers or they couldn't. Some real taxi drivers do this so they don't have to pay the processing fees from the app. But there always are scammers and you gotta look out for them. A real taxi will have its ID, it will have a sticker on the dashboard, and most importantly, the license plate of the vehicle will say TLC. If it doesn't have those things, then it's not a real taxi and you could get scammed. To be safe, just use the taxi line or use one of the car service apps that I said before, and you'll be golden.
Do you recommend taking a city bike from the airport?
Oh my God, you could take a city bike from the airport, but that's if you have zero luggage and you're cool to bike like 20 miles. But if you're on a budget, then I do recommend using public transportation to get from the airports to the city center. And in that case, I have an entire video that explains exactly how to do it. I will link that below for you so you can follow that, or you can simply use Google Maps. That's probably going to be the most up-to-date way to do it. By far, the best way to get around is to use our subway system. You can see some of the trains right behind me. It only costs $2.75 for a ride, and it doesn't matter if that ride is 2 hours or 10 minutes. Is still $2.75. It gets you around way faster because you avoid traffic. The only time the subway is not going to be faster than a car is if you're going between boroughs. For example, Staten Island and Brooklyn, it's going to be way faster driving a car. Other than that, if you're going into Manhattan or you're traveling within Manhattan, subway is the way to go. Let's talk about how you actually use it. Whenever I travel to other destinations, using public transportation can sometimes be overwhelming to me, so I don't want you to feel that way when you come here. There are two ways to buy a ticket to the subway. The easiest way is a thing called Omni. They just installed this. All you need for this is your smartphone with Apple Pay or Google Pay on it, or you can just simply tap your credit card if it has contactless payments. I want to show you this over here in case you don't have contactless payment. Here we are, the MTA subway buying system. Hit start, okay? Hit your language. If you are here for a week at a time, instead of buying individual rides, I would just recommend buying a unlimited pass. And in that case, just hit Metro card. And then you have to buy a new card, and that's a $1 fee on that. And then you choose unlimited ride. Do the 7-day, that's gonna be $33. But you can see the prices here. Now, you don't need to do the bus pass unless you're doing really far trips on the bus, because the Metro card will work on buses within Manhattan. And choose your payment method. And then you're just going to simply dip your card here, put in your zip code, and this is important. If you're international, when they ask for your zip code, just put all zeros, because I know that you don't have a zip code here. Not a problem. And then it will come out right here, and it looks like that. Quick tutorial. See this black bar? You want to face it towards you, okay? And then you're gonna put it right here and do a swipe, and it will work. That's it. Watch. This shot costs $2.75. And see that? Boom. Look at me. I have my phone, and so I'm going to just do that because it's much easier. I have my credit card, and I just simply tap like that. Yay, and then you're in the subway.
Can you swipe me into Arlo?
Nice. I know what you did there, Lucas. You didn't want to pay $2.75. Very tricky. What do you need to book in advance? This is important because New York is unlike other destinations in that you do need to book certain things in advance, otherwise you will miss out. And we don't want that to happen, right? So the things that you need to book in advance of your trip are restaurants, attractions, and Broadway shows like this one. Let me tell you what, you're not gonna be able to show up to Hamilton the day of the show and be like, can I buy a ticket? Not gonna happen. So those things I do recommend booking, if you can, depending on how popular they are, a month in advance, just to guarantee that you have tickets, especially if it's a show like Hamilton or Michelin-starred restaurants. Those things always book far in advance, and this is because New York is one of the most popular destinations to visit. I know there's a lot to do here, and if you are overwhelmed with the booking process, we actually can do that for you. Part of my tourism company's services is a VIP concierge service, so we can plan your custom itinerary and book everything for you. We just would need at least 2 weeks notice in advance. Ideally, I would recommend 2 months because that way you can get into everything beautifully. If you find this video helpful, then you will love my free 3-day itinerary to New York City. This is something that I actually made for my friends and family, so it is truly my top recommendations when you come to New York to optimize your time here and see the best of the best. We cover everything from attractions to restaurants to sightseeing, tours, and more. You can get this completely for free via the link in my bio. There are absolutely no strings attached. I promise you will get this itinerary, and then when you get here, all you need to do is simply follow it and relax and enjoy New York. It's the best way to see the city from a local New Yorker to you. This one is called IDNYC, and this is open to all New York City residents ages 10 and up and gives you insane discounts and benefits, such as free membership to all different types of attractions in the city. For example, free 1-year memberships or discounted tickets at 36 institutions, including Central Park Zoo, Lincoln Center, MoMA, New York City Ballet, movie and entertainment discounts like $8 movie ticket, and discounted Broadway shows. You get discounted fitness classes, discounts at Costco, discounts on coffee. For example, if you go to Partners Coffee, which is a great coffee shop, you get $2 cups of coffee, and it's a cold brew. It's not just like a regular coffee. To get this card, you do have to either apply online or go in person to a IDNYC location. It's $0 to get this card. Let's say you're walking around New York City, your phone dies, or you don't have great signal in one area. What you gotta do? You find one of these. It's called LinkNYC. It's absolutely amazing and completely free. There's gonna be 7,500 of these all throughout the city, and they were replacing all of the payphones. Remember those back in the day? So what you can do with this is pretty amazing. You can make public calls. Literally, I just tested this with Lucas and I called myself. They also have maps so you can find your way. You can find a public bathroom, which is amazing. You can find coffee, you can find an ATM. You can even call 911 with this just by pressing this one button. So if you're in an emergency, you see one, boom, you're connected right away. It's fantastic. I'm not pressing it. I'm not pressing it now. This is just an amazing, amazing resource, and it is completely for free. These 3 apps will save your life in New York and save you money, which we all love. So one is called Flush. It will tell you where the nearest bathroom is, and sometimes they are public bathrooms, sometimes they are bathrooms inside of restaurants that allow visitors to use them without having to buy anything. The next app I recommend is called Seated. Seated is an amazing way to get discounted dining all around the city. They have so many great restaurants on this app, and you can get percentages off of your bill. All you need to do is book the restaurant through Seated, and then once the bill comes, link your credit card with Seated and it picks up that you went there. It's a great hack. And now if you use my promo code right here, you can get even more money back. This is something you can do with friends too. So like if you're telling friends about Seated, you can have them use your promo code. Another app you gotta check out is called Too Good to Be True. You know all that extra food that some restaurants have and they don't want to throw it out. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna put it on this lovely app called Too Good to Be True and charge you minimally. I'm talking you could get a $40 thing for $4. All you gotta do is go on their app, reserve the thing that you're interested in. It's always gonna be something, most likely, that's called a surprise bag because you really never know what they have left over.
What if they give you just a bag of mayonnaise?
They would never give you a bag of mayonnaise. You're on the subway, you're in a rush, and you wanna make sure that you line up with right where the door is gonna open when the train stops. Look along this yellow strip here, and there's certain areas that are a bit dirtier. That means that is where the train doors generally are because most people are going in and out of the train right here. Ever looking for the safest place on the train or simply need to ask the conductor a question? Then look right up here. You'll see this board, it's white and black, and that is where the conductor lines up with it. If you need to ask the conductor questions, then look for that area. This can be perfect for you're lost and you're on an empty platform and you're like, okay, well, when the train does come, how can I ask an actual person? Look for this then. Same with if you're traveling late at night and you want to make sure that the train car you're in is close to the conductor so you're more safe.
Car hacks of New York City. It's my time to shine. It's my section. I even dressed for the part. Is this appropriate, Sarah? Street parking usually in Manhattan ends after 7. Some places, very rarely though, they do go to 10 p.m. So double check like the green signs. These white signs all over the city talk about like commercial parking, or this specific area is only for truck unloading, stuff like that. But those usually end at 6 p.m. For example, this one is from 7 p.m. So after that, again, you can park here. But in between those times, if you're not like a truck or if you're not doing business here, then you might possibly get a ticket. A lot of garages, they usually have like an early bird special. For example, you can park for like the whole day for like $20 if you come before 11 a.m., which is, I guess, a pretty good deal if you're in Manhattan. But anywhere else in the world, that's a terrible deal. And the last one is use Waze on your phone, not Google Maps. Because in this city, every other block, there's either speed cameras or red light cameras, and Google Maps doesn't tell you where they are, but Waze does. So you get to see like, hey, can I speed in this area? Not that I'm promoting that. And then another tip about speed cameras is they trigger only when you're 11 miles per hour over the speed limit. So the citywide limit is 25. You can speed up to 35 and you're good. Once you hit 36, it flashes and they mail you a ticket in like 2 weeks. Do what you with that information. And then another last thing, in the city, you actually can't turn right on red. I know everywhere else in the world, if it's red on right, you could turn. New York City, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and the other borough, you can't turn right on red unless it specifies.
These are some hacks for getting around the city. So if you're looking for an odd numbered building, you're gonna look on the north side of the street. If you're looking for an even numbered building, you're gonna be looking at the south side of the street. And an acronym to help you out is NOS, North, Odd, South, Even. Another acronym that really will help you out is the order of the bridges. And the way to remember them is BMW. Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, and after that is the Williamsburg Bridge. I have another acronym to help you get around the city. 1, 2, 3, let's party mofo. Sounds weird, right? So in the order of the streets going east to west, 1st Ave, 2nd Ave, 3rd Ave, 1, 2, 3. And now we have let's party mofo. Let's Lexington Avenue, party, Park Avenue, mofo, Madison Avenue, and the FO in fo is 5th Avenue. So there is a secret code in Central Park to help you navigate your way through the park, and you can find them on all of the lamp posts scattered throughout the park. There are almost 1,000 of these, so I'm gonna tell you how you can figure out the code right here. You're gonna see a line like this. Sometimes it's this way, so just look all throughout the lamp and you'll figure it out. We have 4 numbers here, 6131. The first 2 numbers represent the closest cross street, so that means we're closest to 61st Street. The next 2 numbers represent how far in we are to the park, if we're in the center or on the outskirts. 40 was considered you're in the center of the park. 31 means we're pretty close to the center of the park. The last digit determines if we're on the east side or the west side. So anything on the west side is an odd number ending, and anything on the east side is an even number. So in this situation, we are closest to 61st Street, kind of in the middle, but slightly off to the west side. And that's how you can figure out where you are in Central Park as you walk through it. Did you know that you can get something for free at any of the public libraries in New York City other than just your typical book? You can do free classes. We did a free calligraphy class at the Chatham Library in Chinatown and learned how to make beautiful Chinese calligraphy. You could also learn about financial information, how to do your taxes. You can learn languages. You can even rent instruments. There's all types of amazing benefits that you can get with the New York Public Library system.
They offer free interview question practice and resume editing. Not that I did it because I love my job.
That's right. Most people know about this lovely TKTS booth behind me where you can get discounted Broadway tickets. But like any good play, timing is crucial in this. 5 p.m., that's when all the good tickets are released and they get snatched up immediately. So make sure you're here right at 5 p.m. and you'll get those discounted tickets that you've been dreaming of. Most Broadway tickets will say show up about 30 minutes before the show starts. Don't do that. What's gonna happen is you're gonna wait in a very long line, and that's just annoying, frankly. Instead, show up 5 minutes before the show starts, because the show doesn't actually start until 10 minutes after the time that it says it's gonna start. That way you don't have any line, you breeze through security, you can get right into your seats. It's not like you have to fight for a seat, because your seats are assigned, and the seat range of pricing can vary dramatically depending on like if you're the best seats or the worst seats. So there's not really a benefit of showing up 30 minutes before because you're just gonna end up in the same seat no matter what. Don't overpay for the Long Island Railroad, especially when you're coming from JFK using the air train. Instead, get a city ticket. A city ticket is a discounted Metro North or Long Island Railroad ticket to the terminal. For $5, it will take you between any two Long Island Railroad stations in New York City except Far Rockaway during off-peak hours, all days and weekends. Traveling from Brooklyn, there's a $5 Atlantic ticket available only at ticket machines that will take you between Atlantic Terminal to Jamaica and other Brooklyn and Southeast Queens stations at all times with no peak hour restriction. A lot of boat cruises are almost $100, but there's a way around that. You can do the New York City Ferry. It's only $4 to get on, and you see all the beautiful views of the city. You can ride it as long as you want. It's just an amazing way to see the city in a different way from the water for only $4. There are several free attractions in New York that New York residents get that others don't get. One is the Intrepid. That is a museum about planes and like warships and submarines. You get a buy one, get one there. The other one is the Met and the Museum of Natural History. The Met is the most visited museum in the United States. I also have an article I will link below here that has all of the museums that New York residents get for free or pay what you wish.
New York can be overwhelming because there is so much to do, eat, and see. Now, if you're visiting, I highly recommend taking one of my award-winning walking tours. I created these tours to make sure you have an amazing experience in the city. And if you're a foodie, you'll love my Best of New York food tour. During this tour, you'll enjoy 5 award-winning dishes from restaurants, take a guided walk through one of the city's most beautiful neighborhoods, and you'll see New York City skyline, Brooklyn, epic views of the Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn Bridge. Want to see the best sights in the city efficiently? Then you can join my Musty Manhattan tour. During this 2-hour walking tour, you'll see all of the famous sights in the city, including the Empire State Building, Times Square, Broadway, Fifth Avenue, Rockefeller Center, Grand Central, and much more. And if you're more into a custom experience, simply fill out our private tour inquiry form and we will customize the tour specifically to your unique needs. Book everything on funkyexperiences.com. We can't wait to welcome you into New York.
An important thing you need to know is what to wear on your feet. You're gonna be walking a lot more than you expect in New York. A lot more. Like, a lot of people underestimate it. You need comfortable walking shoes. This means flats. This means sneakers. This doesn't mean anything with a heel, anything tight. Look at this shoe store, perfect example. These are all great options. They're fashionable, yet also flat. Another one is what I'm wearing. These are Rothy's. I love Rothy's. They're so comfortable. They form to your feet, and they're made with plastic bottles somehow, but they don't feel like they're made with plastic bottles. Another little hack I've learned that works really well is bring 2 pairs of walking shoes and alternate them each day, because then your feet don't get like used to the same shape. I've noticed that when I wear the same...
Can you wear those?
Oh, this is a bad example. As cute as these pink ones are over here, don't wear those unless you're gonna not plan on walking at all. Those are very cute. We need to go in this store. I love that. Look at the headbands. Oh my God, this store is so cute.
Back on topic.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I recommend bringing 2 pairs of walking shoes and then alternating them each day, because I noticed that what happens if you bring just 1 pair of walking shoes, your feet will, the same points of pressure will happen like every single day, and then your feet start hurting. So by switching it every day, your feet never like get exposed to the same points of pressure over and over again. I don't know if that makes sense, but it works. 2 pairs of walking shoes, flats, no heels. Rothy's are good, boots are good, sneakers are good. You're gonna have a good time. There are so many things to do here, but there are a few things that you absolutely cannot miss when coming to New York City, and let's go over those essentials. Number 1, you have to go to an observation deck when you're here. I'm at top of the rock right now. You can see this stunning view behind me. It's unlike anything you'll see anywhere else on this planet. It's absolutely beautiful. That's why I love top of the rock. It's the most iconic view in the entire city, hands down. And there are 4 other observation decks that you can choose from. I also love Summit. Summit's right over there. Summit, that one's Summit.
Okay.
So I would recommend either this one or Summit.
Empire State.
That's Empire State.
That's
then
the
you
Edge.
have the Edge over there, and then you have all the way down there is One
Oh,
World.
the one right next to the Empire State.
Those are my recommendations on observation decks. There's a lot to choose from, so hopefully that helps you out a bit. There's other things you must do. You must go to Central Park. Central Park, you can actually see it beautifully from the other side of Top of the Rock, which is the only observation deck you can see Central Park from like that. You have the Brooklyn Bridge, that's down there. Super iconic, built in 1883. In addition to that, I recommend you do some type of walking tour to show you around the city. I recommend a historical walking tour or a food tour. My personal favorite is my food tours, obviously. From Funky Experiences, we bring you to 5 iconic eateries in 3 hours, so you get to taste a little bit of the city. One last thing you have to do, a rooftop bar. Why? Because the rooftop bars here in New York are unlike anywhere else. Crazy views, great cocktails. This is a cocktail city. You gotta do it. But there's so much more to do here, and that's why I recommend you watch the rest of my videos. I will link below my favorite guides on things to do in the city. Check those out before you come here, and you're going to be guaranteed to have an amazing time. Safety tips and scams. Let's get into it. My biggest safety tip is don't go alone outside after 10 p.m. or ride the subway after 10 p.m. There's just more crime at that hour. I personally have never experienced anything, but I've heard a lot of stories about it. So especially women going out by themselves after 10 p.m., just be careful with that. Also, keep all of your valuables in front of you. So that means don't put your phone in your back pocket. Someone could grab it. That's actually the most common crime that occurs in New York, is petty theft of phones and little things that people can grab out of your pockets. It doesn't happen a ton of times, but it's just something to watch out for, especially if you're from a non-city area and you're not used to that. Like, if I'm on the subway, I'll normally put my bag right in front of me like this. You know, I wouldn't ride the subway and not be aware of my bag. Now, I'm not going to walk around Times Square, you know, with my bag like this. That's not necessary. The other thing that I think is really important to note is there are scams, unfortunately. I have an entire video on the worst scams in New York City and how you can avoid them. One of which is a scam where a person gives you a CD and forces you to pay a tip. And I'm happy to say that because of those videos, we've gotten signs put up here in Times Square that will help you along your way. There's other scams that aren't great either, like the monks, but please watch the video. I'll link that below for you so that you are aware of them. Do not get scammed while you're here. I know, you're probably like, wait, what? Am I gonna get scammed? Don't worry, you won't get scammed because you're watching this video. I got you covered. The reality is that if you go to Times Square, unfortunately, there are a lot of scams. You have fake Elmos dressed up that will jump in your picture and demand $5, sometimes $10, sometimes $20. You have fake monks that will give you a bracelet and pretend that it's a donation, but it's not really a donation. Do I get this?
Yes.
I get to keep this.
Yes, donation.
And it goes to the temple, though?
Yes.
That was a scam if I'd ever seen a scam. Oh my God. He's trying to tell me that the temple in that picture was in Chinatown, New York. I did an entire video on this, by the way, where I pretended to be a tourist and went undercover in Times Square. It was nuts. The people were so willing to scam me. So please watch that video before coming so you do not get scammed while you're here. It's just something that is unfortunate in many large cities, and that is one of the negatives about New York. If this is your first time coming to New York City, I highly recommend you stay in Midtown. That's because you're going to be close to all of the major attractions, pretty much within walking distance. And most first timers actually prefer that. However, if you've been to New York City before, then I don't recommend staying in Midtown. I recommend staying in Lower Manhattan or in Brooklyn or Queens. Personally, my biggest recommendation for anyone, stay in Long Island City, Queens. This is such a great hack. It's only a 10-minute commute to Midtown Manhattan, but you're gonna get significantly lower prices of hotels, which is a major bonus. So when's the best time of year to come here? Well, let me tell you, May, June, September, and October, and December are my 5 favorite months here in New York, and that is because 4 of those months have absolutely perfect weather. And then of course you have Christmas, which is just super magical because everything's covered in lights and it's absolutely beautiful. So if possible, I recommend coming during those times. So what about the weather? Well, it's pretty freezing in January and it's super hot in July, and then it's freezing again in December. So it's kind of like a curve like this. If this is like
January to December. This is the heat, like this, okay? If you come in January, there's actually some bonuses coming the first quarter of the year, January to March, and that's because it is our least visited time of year, which means you will get the best prices on hotels and all the works. So if you are a budget traveler, aim during that time. However, make sure you dress warmly because it is really cold. So what are the absolute things that you have to see? There are a few of them. I recommend the Brooklyn Bridge. You have to see a Broadway show. It's literally New York's biggest top attraction. I just put out a video all about how to plan your perfect day with Broadway, by the way, so use that. You should see Central Park. You should go to a local restaurant, which, by the way, most restaurants in New York City have a local vibe. Don't go to a chain restaurant. You're coming to New York City to experience New York City, so please don't go to Applebee's. Applebee's are everywhere. Go to a cool local spot like Los Tacos Numero Uno or Vinegar Hill House. You know, there's just so many amazing restaurants in the city. New York has one of the best food scenes in the entire world, so the odds are that no matter where you go, you're gonna have an amazing meal. I also recommend going to rooftop bars. The great things about rooftop bars in the city is the view is insane. It actually rivals observation decks, so if you want to skip out on an observation deck ticket of around $39 and instead just head to Overstory or the Skylark or Harriet's Rooftop, not 235th Avenue. That's literally the worst freaking rooftop bar ever. Every tourist ends up there. Don't go to 235th. There's a fabulous show in Bushwick, Brooklyn called Company XVI, and I am obsessed with them. It's like a burlesque nutcracker, like classy yet a little scandalous. It's something you gotta see, and it's a super local vibe, so that's a nice one. You gotta get pizza while you come here. I recommend Bleecker Street Pizza. We have the best pizza in the world. Same with bagels. Go to Tompkins Square Bagels. They have the best bagels in the city. And don't forget to go to brunch while you're in New York. We are known for our brunches, and you can find them at practically every single restaurant in the city on weekends. Make a reservation in advance to that because it is all the talk of the town. If you didn't go to brunch on the weekend, then who even are you? I mean, come on. So what can you skip? Well, I have a list here. First off, Statue of Liberty. Honestly, there's not really much going on there. Ellis Island's pretty cool, but there's not really much of the Statue of Liberty. It's better just to look at it from afar. Times Square, for anything other than a Broadway show, is not worth really going to. It's just so commercialized. You're just gonna find like Forever 21 and like all these very much commercialized experiences that you can get anywhere. So just go to Times Square when you're going to the Broadway show, and then, you know, you get the best of both worlds. Take your picture and peace out. That's what I say. Staten Island, unless you have a car, is not worth visiting. Staten Island is lovely with their parks. They have more parks than any other borough, but other than that, Staten Island's super spread out, so it will be really challenging for you to get around. The Empire State Building observation deck. The problem with this is that the Empire State Building is such an iconic part of the New York City skyline, and you won't be able to see the Empire State Building when you're on the observation deck. It's a shame. They do kind of have a cool exhibit inside, but the other observation decks also have a cool exhibit inside, and they can see the Empire State Building, so unfortunately I'm gonna say pass to the Empire State Building. Sorry guys. I've found that almost every visitor wants to see the Wall Street Bowl. I'm telling you right now, it is a mess. There is like 5 people deep surrounding this Wall Street Bowl at all times. So if you really want to see it, either go first thing in the morning or go late at night, because other than that, it is swarmed with people. No locals ever want to see that. It's very interesting to me that tourists always want to see that. I think it's because it's featured in a lot of movies. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Now, I've found one of the best ways to explore a new place when I'm traveling is through a tour. I always like to do a tour with locals to get an idea of the surrounding area. Yes? And so does... Oh, water, thank you. You drank all the water already? Bella, Louie, and I, we have tours of New York City. Check funkyexperiences.com to see what tours are happening now. Now, there is a lot to do here. Don't just stop at this video. I have almost 100 videos on things to do in New York City, from best bars, restaurant, what you need to know, what you don't need to know, where's tourist traps. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So make sure you watch my other videos to find out more. I also have videos on itineraries. So if you're having trouble planning your trip, you can actually just use one of my pre-made itineraries and make things just go way faster. Sick plug, right? How much does it cost to visit New York? Well, all I'm saying is saving before your trip to the city is very smart. Unfortunately, New York City is one of the most expensive cities in the world. Your Midtown hotel will be around $350 on average per night, and that is like the average normal price. It really only goes up from there, unfortunately. And if you have dreams to stay in like the plaza, like Home Alone 2, I get it, but that's gonna be $1,000 a night or more, unfortunately. It's really a shame. I really wish that it wasn't this expensive. The average drink is around $15 or more, and the average dish is between $20 to $30 at a restaurant, just so you're aware. That's like a pasta dish. I mean, if you're looking at like a steak, sometimes like $50. It's kind of crazy. So one way to save money also, by the way, is if you get like an Airbnb or a Sonder and you can actually cook in your property. That's a really good hack because it will save you so much money. I think me and my friends, when we look at our finances in New York, besides our rent, the highest expense is going out to restaurants here. It's crazy. So what do you wear? This is a question I get all the time. I've actually created a video, actually 2 videos on this topic, on what to wear when visiting New York. My most important piece of advice to you is if you are coming in winter, you are going to be outside way more than you expect. You are walking on city blocks all the time. You're probably not going to be in a car. And so it's very important to dress in layers. Watch my guide on what to wear in New York City because I have all the information on what the temperatures are depending on what time of year you visit and what you should wear per month. I know New York City has a lot of beautiful things, but please don't stop in the middle of the sidewalk on a busy sidewalk to take a picture or check your phone for directions. There's often a lot of people behind you and it holds up traffic. I'm just telling you this because there's some people that get really annoyed and they'll like say rude things. New Yorkers are always on the go. We're like always fast paced and it takes a while to get anywhere, so that's part of it. Now, bringing on to my next point, New Yorkers are not mean. I know this may sound strange because all the movies portray us as being mean, but most of those movies that portray us as being rude are from the 70s or the 80s, and that is when New York was pretty tough to live in. Oh, thank you. New Yorkers are not mean, we're just efficient. So instead of having an entire conversation about like, how's your day when you're ordering Starbucks or whatever, it's just like, what do you want? Because there's 300 customers behind you, you know? Like, we definitely would be fine having a convo if it wasn't so crowded everywhere. That's all. We're not mean. New York City is more than just Manhattan, so explore outside of Manhattan. There are 4 other boroughs besides Manhattan that are totally worth visiting. I have guides to all of them on my channel, so you can check those out once you subscribe. You don't need to exchange your money in New York because no one really takes cash. I mean, they'll take it if you have it, but you don't really need cash at all here. Everyone takes credit card. So if you have a credit card that has no foreign transaction fees and you're visiting from outside of the US, that's what you should use because no one really uses cash. One time someone gave me a $50 bill and it just stayed in my wallet for months until I stepped out of New York City and then I used it. So just a heads up on that. A lot of people use Apple Pay, Google Pay, credit card, you know, whatever works for you. Let's talk about bathrooms. You didn't see that one coming, huh? That's because bathrooms here are hard to find. So my biggest recommendation here is if you're out exploring, use the bathroom at whatever location you're at before you leave. So if you're at a museum, use the bathroom. If you're at a restaurant, use the bathroom. If you're out exploring for a while, there's definitely ways that you can use bathrooms. There's an app called Sit or Squat, which tells you which bathrooms are worthy of sitting and which are not worthy of going to, if you know what I mean. But my personal hack is I use the hotel or restaurant hack. Essentially, you just walk in the door with confidence and head to where you think the bathroom will be. And then if you get lost, you just act like you're like staying there or you're a customer and just checking and just using the bathroom. It works like a charm. There is extremely limited accessibility in New York. I only really realized this once I started giving tours of people that had accessibility issues. Only 25% of the subway is accessible. So if you have a stroller or a wheelchair or have mobility issues, it is really challenging to use it. On top of that, you may have some challenges finding accessible taxis or cars with car seats, but just a heads up for you to be prepared for that.
Before we get into this video, I have 4 very important details that you absolutely need to listen to. This will affect how much money you spend here. So listen up. The cheapest prices for hotels in New York City is going to be January to early March. We have something called New York City Hotel Week. I will link that below for you. It is normally January 4th to February 3rd. Yes, I know that is more than 1 week. That's just what they call it. The most expensive prices are during the holiday season and in May and June. So if you are coming during that time, expect to pay on the high end of everything. For your convenience, I have linked all the hotels in the video description right here so you can book it easily. We're covering 4 neighborhoods that I love and I recommend to anyone that is staying here in the city. I tell my family members, I tell my friends this. So these places I chose very carefully and I have neighborhood guides for all of them. I will also link that below. Long Island City is the place I always tell people to stay. It's also my neighborhood. I recommend this place for many reasons. First off, look at that view. Look at that view, okay? You're not gonna get that view in many places, and that is a huge benefit of Long Island City. The other thing is it is so close to Manhattan, yet you don't pay the prices of staying in Manhattan. It is 1 stop on the subway to Manhattan, which saves you time in commuting. It saves you money. I recommend this type of place for people that want the benefit of staying near Manhattan, but maybe they don't want the chaos of staying in Midtown. It's also great for people that are more on a budget, and that's just because the prices are gonna be lower since you're not in Midtown. I would say the only negative with Long Island City right now is that Long Island City is so popular that there is a lot of construction going on right now. With that said, I live in Long Island City around all of these buildings that are going up. And most of the newer buildings, including this hotel, have soundproof windows. So you're not gonna have to deal with those sounds of construction. But I had to warn you. Now, if you're coming to Long Island City, there are 52 hotels here. The best one, and the one I always recommend, is this spot. This is called the Aloft Long Island City. Okay, this is their lobby area. They got a bunch of games going on. Connect 4, Jenga, a pool table. There is a courtyard. Then we also have like a breakfast bar area. This room, that's a bar, and they do karaoke Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So a lot of different activities going on. That's all included in your stay. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna show you the best room here. Now this one is the most expensive, coming in at around 500-ish a night. Don't get scared though. The average price for this hotel can range from $150 to around $300. That's what a typical room is. I'll show you that a little bit later, but this one's fabulous and it has 2 beds. It's a suite. Come inside. We have a living room area that opens right up to the terrace with those beautiful city views. Many of the rooms in this hotel have balconies, not just this suite, so make sure you check that out while you're booking it. This is the bedroom. We have 2 queen-size beds, and it's looking out to all that lovely construction. Yeah, that is the negative, but again, construction ends, people, so don't be worried about that. The bathroom, love this sink, beautiful shower, toilet, everything you need in one room. So that is the suite. Now let me show you the more modest style room. This is a standard king room, and this room ranges from around $161 to around $250. In fact, I just checked the rates for if you stay during Christmas, which is the busiest time of year, and this room is only $250 a night, which is a steal compared to the average rates of rooms anywhere else in the city for that same time. You're normally paying $500 or up. We have a bathroom, that beautiful sink, which I loved. You also have this lovely king-size bed right here, and
gorgeous city views.
Midtown Manhattan is another area that I recommend. This is probably the most popular area that most visitors stay in, and it makes sense because all of the major attractions are here. You have all of the trains. It's very convenient. If you're going to a Broadway show, you can just slip out from the Broadway show and head right to your hotel, and it's a short walk. You're not gonna get that with any other location. And those are the main benefits of staying in Midtown. It is ideal for first-time visitors. However, there are some negatives of staying in this area, and most of them include the prices are going to be the most expensive in the entire city by far. That is a guarantee. I promise you that you probably won't find anything cheap here, and if it is cheap, approach with caution. Secondly, it's very crowded here. If you don't like crowds, that's gonna be a problem. But the reality is, if you're seeing New York, you're gonna experience crowds anywhere. And third, it is quite loud. There are people everywhere, so you're gonna be dealing with a lot of different sounds all the time. Now, luckily, if you're sleeping, most hotels have prepared for that and you're not gonna experience it, but the second you step outside, you're gonna deal with people, cars, horns, all different types of sounds. And those are the positives and negatives of staying in Midtown. I'm gonna show you a hotel I recommend. Welcome to Refinery Hotel. This is a 4-star boutique hotel in Midtown, very conveniently located. It's beautiful, it's elegant, it's luxurious. They have a lot going on here. The cool thing about this hotel is its history. It actually used to be a hat factory back in 1912, and it then turned eventually into a speakeasy style tea room, and you can see a little bit of that inspo here at the bar. This is the standard deluxe room. Now this room is the most spacious room I've ever seen in Midtown. That's what I love about the Refinery Hotel. You get so much space for your money. This room starts at around $300 at the cheapest. That's when it's gonna be January, February, and it can get up to around $800 peak season. So important thing to keep in mind, most hotels in Midtown charge this. That's the reality of Midtown. It's the most popular area, so you're going to be paying the most, but you get the most bang for your buck here. I love this room. I love how they incorporated subtle touches of how it used to be a hat factory into the decor and the design. This is their bathroom, and it's so fabulous. The tiling here is just so Vogue, and that's not a coincidence. You know Vogue's Get Ready With Me videos on YouTube? They actually film them here at the Refinery Hotel in one of their suites, and that's because of how gorgeous it is. But I want to show you one more of their rooms. It's a suite, just to show you how much even nicer some of their rooms can be. And yes, this one is more expensive, so if you are looking for the trip of a lifetime, maybe you want to book this room. Welcome to the Atelier room. This means wardrobe, essentially. It's like a workstation. That's what atelier means. Again, referencing that hat factory that this beautiful building started at in 1912. Quite a spacious room. In addition to the king-size bed here, you also have an entire lounging area and a TV, a lot of beautiful artwork on the walls, and they actually have a custom piece of artwork in these rooms on every wall that was designed by FIT students. This bathroom is about double the size of the other room's bathroom, so you definitely have more space here. We got this spacious wardrobe, tons of storage for your clothes. You can put your luggage in here. Now this room starts around $400. That is a steal for this area. I cannot emphasize that enough for the quality you're getting for the space. It does get up to around $1,000 a night during peak season. The other thing that is great about the Refinery Hotel is their restaurant and their bar. Not all hotels have this, and Refinery Hotel has one of my favorite bars in the city. It's called Refinery Rooftop. It has amazing views of the Empire State Building. It has great cocktails. It's a vibe. They do great parties. So just being able to stay at the hotel and then head right up to the rooftop is such a benefit, and it's so convenient. They also have a really delicious restaurant called Parker and Quinn, directly attached to the hotel. Serves excellent food, new American style cuisine. We got their lamb burger and their chicken. They also do a really good job with cocktails. However, one thing to keep in mind, we are in New York City, so no matter what hotel you stay at, a restaurant a bar, they're not gonna be a far walk for you. We're headed to our next neighborhood, but before we get there, I want to give a tip for my international travelers out there. If you are traveling from outside of the US, you want to make sure you get a SIM card when you get here so you don't get hit with all those roaming fees. And for that, I recommend using Olafly's eSIM cards. I've used them all over the world and they are fantastic. Their USA plan, it's amazing. You get unlimited 5G data for only $19 for 5 days. And if you're here for a week, that plan's only $27. That is 5G speeds, unlimited data, and 24 hours of customer support. They have plans in over 180 countries. And what I really like about them compared to other SIM cards out there is that they are an eSIM, which means you can download them easily using a QR code within minutes. It's so easy to install. And I love them so much that I reached out and I got a promo code for you all so you save even more money. If you use code SarahFunky, you'll save 5% on your next Olafly SIM card. So don't forget that tip when you're visiting, and let's head to our next neighborhood that you may want to consider staying at when you're here. Downtown Manhattan is another area I recommend staying for different reasons than the others. This is the perfect area if you're looking for a place that is close to the action, yet quiet, laid back, and not too much going on. This may be best if you really don't like crowds, you don't like noise, and you're just more of a, let's say, private person. It's only about a 20-minute subway commute to Midtown, so that makes it very easy. You also have great access to the Statue of Liberty here, the Brooklyn Bridge, you have Wall Street, so it's a kind of a different vibe. So the negatives of staying in this area would be you're not gonna have as many options for dining as you would in other areas. However, there's still a ton of options because this is New York City. There's 25,000 restaurants here, so you're set, don't worry about that. The other thing is some places do tend to close early because this is kind of the financial district. Most financial places, once it closes, all the people leave, all the finance bros, as I like to call them, they all go home. And then there's not really much here, so many of the businesses shut down. Price-wise, it's still similar to Midtown, probably a little bit cheaper, but definitely not as cheap as Williamsburg or Long Island City. Welcome to Sonder. This is such a great hack for visiting New York because these are essentially apartments. Yes, that's right. Technically, they wouldn't be classified as a hotel. I know I said where to stay. It's not just hotels, people. So the cool thing about Sonders is you do get a kitchen, you get a washing machine, a dryer, there's gyms, there's pools, there's all different types of things. And they have 12 locations around the city. I chose their Battery Park location because we are here in downtown Manhattan. So let me bring you on a little tour inside one of the rooms. The great thing about this is I feel like I'm in my own apartment. I'm just showing this one, but just keep in mind that a lot of the neighborhoods around the city have these, so you can book them anywhere. The main benefit is that they have a kitchen here and a washer and dryer in every room because it's like a mini apartment. So this room is their queen size studio room. You got a queen size bed, ample closet space. You have a little area in the front where you can have, you know, your breakfast, huge kitchen area. And when I say huge, you know, we're in New York standards here. Oh my God, they do have a dishwasher. What? Huge refrigerator. The bathroom is super well lit, which I really like for makeup. Actually, I gotta fix a little bit of this. I saw the cheapest price was $160 a night, and that's in January. And then the most expensive would be around New Year's Eve time. That's $550, okay? So keep that in mind. Sonder Battery Park also have this beautiful rooftop deck, and you get gorgeous views of the Hudson River. It's extremely peaceful, very quiet. They even have a pool here. However, I can't show you that, so we're gonna put some pictures up because they are closed right now. In addition to that, we have a gym. We have a co-working space. They also have a music room. I feel like if you want more of a place that you can cook at home, then you gotta stay in a Sonder compared to a hotel. That's the bottom line. Williamsburg is another area that I recommend staying in. This is definitely for someone that maybe it's not their first time in New York City and they want to explore more of a local vibe. The positives here are it's definitely quiet. You're going to encounter more residents, so you're not gonna gonna have like the touristy people taking pictures of everything, and it is more of a real New York experience. This is actually what it's like to live in New York City, because guess what? Very few locals live in Midtown. Negatives, there's not as many train options here, so commuting to major attractions may be a bit more challenging, though not impossible. You can probably get to most places, I would say, within half an hour. Another negative, sometimes the prices in Williamsburg are a bit high. You can definitely find lower priced things, but I don't know if you heard about it. There's like this kind of a hipster culture here. So sometimes, you know, a latte's $8. I don't know why. Welcome to the Arlo Williamsburg. This is your neighborhood spot that just makes you feel like you've come home. I love this place. Been coming here for years. They used to be known as the Williamsburg Hotel, but today they are the Arlo, and there's actually 4 Arlos in New York City. They are a independent boutique hotel. They have 4 bars here, a restaurant, a pool. Their rooms are stunning. I'm gonna show you those in a minute. There's tons of different amenities for guests. Welcome to the Skyline Suite. This is one of the best rooms in the Arlo Williamsburg. This room can range from $900 a night to up to $1,500 a night, depending on when you visit. We have this massive seating area here, floor-to-ceiling windows with that beautiful skyline view. You can see the East River, you can see the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, all the iconic buildings, and I just love the beautiful decor here. It is so cute. King-size bed with their adorable little fortune cookies. That's something you see in all Arlo hotels, wishing you good fortune. Beautiful turquoise subway tiling, and it's surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows, but don't worry, people can't see into the windows, but you can see out of the windows. So here we are in a queen standard room. These rooms are on the smaller side. That's because they're entry-level room, and they start at around $189 and can range all the way up to $500 if you're going busy season. That $189 is gonna be in January, so keep that in mind when you're looking online. This one has a queen-size bed. You still have an outdoor space, which is a rarity in New York. This bathroom with that beautiful blue tiling again. A lot of style in this place. They're an artsy spot. They like art. This is Williamsburg and it's artsy area, so that's reflected in the interior design of the hotel. By far, my favorite thing about this hotel, besides their amazing view and their beautiful decor, is this pool. Now I know behind me, you may be thinking, oh, there's no water in that pool. Yeah, I know, don't worry about it. Just imagine there's water. We're here off season. This is such a huge draw. I can't emphasize that enough. Barely any hotels in the city have rooftop pools, and barely any hotels in the city that even have rooftop pools have that epic skyline view while you're in it. But in addition to the rooftop pool, they also have 2 bars here. One bar is right behind the pool, and one bar is in this cool water tower that they like converted into a bar. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Navigating between New York City's airports and the city center can be very expensive. On average, it's about $100, but in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can do it for as cheap as $2.90. Now, the process of getting from one of New York's 3 airports, it really doesn't matter which one you take, by the way, to the city center can be a variety of different methods of transportation, from helicopters to subways to ferries and walking.
Can I take a city bike?
I would love to see you take a city bike with all your luggage, Lucas. Please do that, and let me know how that goes. But anyway, this is gonna be your go-to guide on how to navigate New York City's many transportation systems, whether you're coming from the airport to the city center or just getting around the city. So let's start. All right, I'm gonna give you some quick facts before we get into the airport guides. Number 1, a great app to use is City Mapper. This will compare the cheapest, the best, the fastest routes. Download that, and it's really, really useful if it's your first time in the city. I use it when I travel to different large cities, but as a local, I use Google Maps. So 2 options for apps. Number 2, it doesn't matter which airport you fly into, just choose the one with the cheapest ticket, because all 3 airports are pretty much more or less the same distance from Midtown, so you might as well just choose what gets you the cheapest flights. And number 3, for simplicity purposes, when I'm showing you the airport routes, I'm mapping everything to the Midtown area. This is because that's the location that the majority of visitors stay in, and I just felt it would be the easiest way to explain this. However, if you're staying in a different area, most of the routes are pretty much the same until the last moment, so you can still follow I have a promo code here to help you save money. Or Uber, of course. I don't have a promo code for Uber though, so maybe take one of these. When you do a car service, an important detail that is unlike any other airport is you have to go to a ride app pickup location. So you gotta follow the signs that look like this and just follow those to where you can get in the car. You have to call the car to one of those locations. It's easy, it will direct you within the app. We're gonna pretend like I just got off the plane. I'm here at JFK's baggage area. JFK has several different terminals. This is Terminal 5. It doesn't matter which terminal you end up in because the process is going to be the same. So essentially, once you get your bags, you're gonna look for a sign that looks like this. This will give you all the information on how you can get from the airport to the city center. We have taxis, we have ride app pickup, and we have transit to the city. So you're gonna follow the arrow this way. If you take the elevator up, you just hit Skywalk, and that will bring you right to the AirTrain. Really, you just are following any symbol like this. I also really love how they have these signs now on the floor, so you can just follow those if you're doing a taxi or a rideshare app. Let's talk about some etiquette for these lovely things. If you're gonna stand still, you're gonna stand on the right side, okay? But if you wanna walk, then you can go on the left side. So please, if you're tired from your trip, totally get it. Just stay on the right so that there's still a pathway for those on the left that are in a rush. And this is very relevant because New Yorkers are always in a rush. So once you get to the end of the hallway, you're gonna have a bunch of different ways you can go. If you need to take a taxi, you go straight forward. It's pretty obvious, you guys. You just look at the signs there. If you're gonna take the AirTrain, which you're going to need to do if you're doing a Revel, an Uber, or a Lyft, or if you're taking public transport, then just go down the escalator here or take the elevator. We're here at the AirTrain entrance. The AirTrain, you don't have to pay to get on it. If you're coming from the airport, you pay when you leave the AirTrain. Little weird, but I'll walk you through that too. Here's a map so you can understand kind of where you're going. If you're taking the subway, you're gonna take it to Jamaica. It's the red line. You also can see which trains are coming on the top of this. If you're taking it to the ride app pickup location, you're gonna take that to Terminal 7. Also, if you need more direct help, we got Wesley here to help you out. It may not be Wesley, but look for someone in the red vest.
That says AirTrain on it too.
Yeah. Okay, it's pretty simple. How much is the AirTrain, by the way?
The AirTrain is $8.25 per person.
Yeah.
And the trick is, say if you have a party of 4 or you're a party of 2 and you're doing a round trip, definitely invest in the 10 trip for $25. Instead of spending $8.25 per person, you spend $25 for 4 people, or you know.
Wait, that's a really good tip. Where do you buy that?
Right at Jamaica Howard Beach Station.
So you should buy it when you're leaving, like right before you scan out?
Yeah, so if you're coming into New York and if you're a party of 2 and you know you're coming back, get the 10 trip for $25 because you know it's
it's good saving.
825 times 2 is 16,
Yeah.
$50, $33 overall. You spend 25.
That's so good. I didn't even know about that. You're teaching me things. If you're using a ride-sharing app, you get off here at Terminal 7. This is right before Jamaica, and you follow the sign. When you get off the AirTrain, that is when you're gonna pay. You have to go through here, but before you go through here, you have to get a Metro card and put $8.25 per person on it, or do the 10 ticket price that we talked about earlier. It's gonna save you a lot of money. It's actually a shockingly good deal. Black bar facing to the right, and you dip it. Lucas, you wanna go first? We're out of the AirTrain. There are 2 options now, and I recommend the Long Island Railroad option. Why? Because it's only about $2 more than the subway, and it's way faster. Direct to Penn Station. Gonna buy my ticket, gotta download the MTA app, train time. Now you're going to put Jamaica to Grand Central, and I'm going to pay and get the card. All right, so now we have our tickets, and we're going to get on the train. You cannot activate the ticket until it is time to actually get on the train. Oh, look at that, here it is. And now is the time where you can activate your ticket. So now I'm going to hit activate ticket like this, and then the conductor will scan that. With the city ticket, you can use it any time of day except between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. and at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. And that's because those are rush hour time, and it will only be $2 more than the subway. Much nicer, much faster, air conditioned, way better experience. Overall, it's a win. So we just arrived to Penn Station. We are officially in Midtown Manhattan now. Once you get out of the train, you're gonna follow signs up to the exit where it says Street Subways, LIR, Amtrak, New York Transit. Doesn't really matter what it says as long as it says exit. So the train will drop you off at 33rd and 7th Ave. Now this is, you know, still Midtown, but a lot of people stay in Times Square. That's on 42nd Street, so that's 9 blocks away. Now we're here at LaGuardia. We're here at baggage claim. LaGuardia Airport has 3 terminals. Doesn't matter which terminal you get off in, but what you're gonna do to get the cheapest way to the city. By the way, fun fact, LaGuardia is the cheapest way to get to the city. Only $2.90. Isn't that amazing? You're going to follow signs for the buses. Again, the rideshare app has specific locations. So if you are calling an Uber, Lyft, or Revel, then you have to follow signs for that. And the signage is all very nicely laid out for you. The bus that we're going to be taking is the M60. This is an express bus. Some of the signs will show you buses to Subway, Q70, and M60. So that's the ones you're looking for. Regardless, if you don't see them specify the bus on the sign, still follow the signs that are pointing towards the buses. Once you go through those doors, you're going to be outside, and this is where all the buses will pick you up. There's signs on each of these pillars right here. So this one is M60, Q70. You can go to the select pillar that works for you, but the majority of the pillars have the same buses coming no matter what. You may be wondering, what's the difference between the Q70 and the M60? Well, let me explain with this lovely map here. The Q70, aka the LaGuardia Link, will take you to either this subway station, 74th Street and Broadway, or this subway station, Woodside, 61st Street. After that, you're going to have to take the subway multiple stops into Times Square. Whereas this one, the M60, will take you to Astoria Boulevard, or it will bring you straight into Manhattan at 125th Street. It actually stops at all the 125th Street locations. So the M60 is going to be about 10 minutes faster than taking the LaGuardia Link if you were going to Midtown. The only difference is you will have to pay when you initially board the M60, whereas the LaGuardia Link is free, and then once you get on the subway, you're going to have to pay at that point. They are the same price in the end, $2.90 or $2.90. We're going to be paying with Omni. That is a contactless payment system. So if your credit card is able to do contactless payment, or if you have Apple Pay or Google Pay on your phone, then you can use that. Or you can pay with the bus ticketing system. I'll show you what that looks like. It's over here. So this is where you're going to buy your ticket to the M60 bus. The one thing I want to note is you're going to already need to have a Metro card if you want to do this method. I do recommend the contactless payment. That will be way easier. You can buy a Metro card like this one right inside the airport near door 14. So essentially what we're gonna do once you have your Metro card is you're going to press this button here, you're going to put the Metro card in, then it will print out a receipt. This is the receipt that you will need to board the bus. The bus driver's not actually going to check the receipt. That is only if the MTA police come on the bus and want to make sure you have a receipt. If you don't, it will be a $100 fine. All right, the M60 bus is here. So I'm getting my contactless payment out, and all I'm gonna do is just go like that. So now we're on the bus. We're going to take this to Astoria Boulevard, and from there I'll guide you. But I just want to point out, when you're riding a public bus in New York, the way you stop, well, you request the stop, is there's gonna be this like yellow string, I guess you would call it. It's not like he's just gonna stop the bus anywhere if you pull this. It has to be at one of the stops on the route that the bus is already taking. So you would pull this, and then I didn't actually pull it. And then it will have a sign that goes up here that says stop requested. And then the bus will stop. We just got off of the bus at Astoria Boulevard. That is the Astoria Boulevard subway station, not the Astoria Boulevard bus station. That may be a bit confusing, but just to clarify, if you don't see this, see what's behind me? It's like a giant bridge with a train on it. You don't get off the bus at the first Astoria Boulevard. The bus stop is technically called Hoyt Avenue and 31st Street, but essentially it's taking you to the Astoria Boulevard subway station, and that's where we're going to catch the N or the W, and you can take that right into Midtown Manhattan. This is where you can buy a Metro card. Later in this video, we do a complete overview of the subway system, telling you how to use it, how to read the maps, how to buy a Metro card. All of that will be right here at this timestamp. So if you are planning on using public transport, which I do recommend, definitely keep watching until this point in the video. It will help you a lot. But for now, we're just gonna use contactless payment with my smartphone. Okay. You gotta make sure that you get on the train on the right side. So one side of the stairs will say Manhattan and Brooklyn bound, and one side will say Ditmars Boulevard, Astoria. Make sure you get on the Manhattan bound side, otherwise you're going the opposite direction of what you want to do. We're on the N train, but you can take the W too. It doesn't matter. Whatever train comes first, as long as it's the N or the W, take it to Manhattan. So we are currently right here. We're gonna take it all the way down. And technically, I don't know where your hotel will be if you're staying in Midtown, but you could get off any of the stops depending on what is closest to your hotel. At that point, I would recommend looking at Google Maps and figuring out which stop is closest to your hotel. And that's it. LaGuardia is a very simple, cheap way of getting into Manhattan, only $2.90 instead of almost $100 if you take a car service.
I'm here at Newark. This airport has 3 terminals, and there are 2 ways that you can get to the city from here using public transportation. The other one, of course, is taking a Uber, Lyft, or Revel. But we're gonna focus on the public transport, of course. The first way is gonna cost you $15.90. That's taking the air train to Newark Liberty Airport Station and then taking the subway the rest of the way. But for only a few dollars more, at $21, you could take the Newark Airport Shuttle. This is way easier because essentially you just get on it here at Newark Airport and then you get off in Times Square. You don't have to lug your luggage between trains. It's just a sit down and get off, and I love that. So let's go take it. I'm gonna show you the process. We're gonna take the elevator to level 1. This is arrival, so it's essentially as if you just got off the plane. Here we go. This is also where you're gonna have to do the ride app pickup for Lyft and Uber and Revel, although they don't have that there.
Once you step outside of level 1, you'll see signs that will bring you to Newark Airport Express, so follow along. All you gotta do is walk out of level 1 and go to number 16, which is Newark Airport Express. Now there is a chance that in the future this number could change, and in that case, just look at the signage or ask a police officer or someone that works here which station it is. There's a lot of different shuttle buses, so just make sure you read the signs carefully because there's Jersey Transit, there's shuttles to different hotels. Now you have to buy these Newark Airport tickets in advance, and you can get that right online. I'll put the website on screen and also link it below for your convenience. These buses run every 45 minutes, so that is something to consider when you're traveling. If you miss it, that's kind of inconvenient, but if it works with the timing, then it's much better. So I recommend just buying the tickets once you get here, and you can go do that right online. It's just gonna be better that way, because in case you miss it, you don't want to wait 45 more minutes. It is 3:06 for me, so it looks like there is a 3:15 bus going from Terminal A, which is where we are, to 42nd Street, Port Authority. Perfect. It's gonna take 50 minutes non-stop. I love that. It's $18 per person. I mean, it's a little bit more than expensive than taking the New Jersey Transit by like $3, but it's direct and you don't have to transfer and you don't have to move your luggage around. So if you're a single person traveling to the city, this is gonna be cheaper. If you are not a single person traveling to the city, probably gonna be easier taking a Revel or a Uber or a Lyft. I'm sweating, it's so hot. Okay, I just got my ticket. It looks like this, a QR code, so they're gonna scan that when I get on the bus. You can actually buy a round trip if you want. It might be easier if you plan on coming back to Newark on your way back and you want to take the same bus. Just make sure you look at the schedule ahead of time to make sure it lines up with your flight. All right, it's here, yay. It's like an actual coach bus. We got lucky too, because the timing worked perfectly. I feel like if the timing doesn't work, then it kind of sucks. Fun fact, you can actually pay for this in cash. It's $21.50, and make sure you have exact change because the driver will not be able to give you change, okay? So if you want to do it in cash, you can totally do that. It might be easier than like buying it in the moment online. We're here in Times Square, technically right next to Port Authority, which is a bus terminal. It's a little sketchy in Port Authority, so don't spend a lot of time here. Grab your bags and look at this. Times Square is right here. So you can head straight to your hotel from here or catch the subway if you're going to another destination. But it's super easy. The whole trip was about 50 minutes. You go through the Lincoln Tunnel You get on and you get off. That's not even a stop, that's like 0 stops. Way better than taking New Jersey Transit and then the subway. And it's only like $3 more. I love it. Let's talk about the subway because this is by far the best way to get around Manhattan. I'm gonna give you an overview of what you need to know, the most important things, and how to use the subway right now. The subway entrances look like this generally. Now you'll see this little ball at the top right here. If this ball is red, that means that you can't enter through this station. However, it is green right now, so we are good to go. In the front of the subway station, you'll see which trains come here. Most of them have multiple lines that go there. So in this case, we have the B, D, F, M, and 6 that come here. And the other thing to keep in mind is sometimes it will say uptown only or downtown only. So just make sure if it doesn't say that, then it will go both directions. But if it does say uptown only, you may have to cross the street and enter on the other side if you want to go downtown. You'll also notice that some stations have this little accessibility sign. Unfortunately, the subway stations in New York City are not very accessible. Only about 25% are, which is really a shame. They are working to improve this, but it is a slow process. So if you do have accessibility issues, such as you have trouble walking far distances, using stairs, or are using a wheelchair, then I do recommend using a car service. It's going to be much easier for you. However, you can route things via the subway. When you use Google Maps to figure out where you're going, there's a little thing in there that says like accessible only or wheelchair accessible. Click that and then it will tell you which stations are accessible. However, to be honest, a lot of the time the elevators aren't working, so this isn't the most reliable method, and I really recommend using a car service. And they also smell like pee. It's not clean. When you are using a car service, you can actually tap the accessibility icon when you're calling the car, and then an accessible car will come to you if you are in a wheelchair. We're in the subway now. It smells just wonderful. You'll know what I mean when you get here. Unfortunately, we haven't mastered the art of cleaning here in New York, but hopefully someday that will happen. It's very loud here as well. You're always having trains coming and going like this one. I highly recommend you use contactless payment. So we just installed this whole system throughout the subway system, which makes it so much easier than buying a Metro card, so I don't encourage this. If you have a smartphone, or if you have a credit card that accepts contactless payments, so all you need to do is just tap your phone here and it will charge it and you can go right in. Way easier than going through the process of buying a Metro card. Need an accessible gate. They also have that here, and in this situation you tap it like this and then the door will open automatically. The new price for a Metro card is $2.90 per swipe, and if you use Omni, it's great because essentially if you're here for 7 days, once you hit $34 using the contactless payment, all other rides are free, so it's really great. Our subway system, although it's colorful, we call trains by their number or their letter, not their color. It hits all the boroughs, and you can do free transfers between trains, which is super helpful. Over here, you can see when the trains are coming. They run pretty much every 5 minutes, but it's slower in the evening. So now we're in the station. It's a pretty standard station. This is how they all look more or less. They're very dirty. They smell bad. When you get to the station, it will say downtown or uptown, so pay attention to that. So this is a downtown train. I want to go uptown, so that means I have to follow these signs here, say uptown, go this way. So just look at the signs. They're gonna be more helpful, honestly, than the announcements that the train conductors are making, because you can they're like barely audible. It's incredible that they haven't updated this system. So this is how our trains look. They're pretty much all more or less look like this. They do have air conditioning, which is nice. Most of them have air conditioning. A fun fact though is, let's say it's rush hour. That normally is when people are going to work or leaving work. All the cars of the train are packed, except for one. Do you go in that car or not? The answer is don't go in that car. Most likely there is a reason why it is empty, probably because of a very bad smell. So just a heads up on that. The train conductor will be making announcements when they feel like it. They're not very reliable, so the best way to pay attention to when your stop is it will have a map of what the stations are. Some newer trains actually tell you what station you're at, others don't. So I would recommend just making sure you're paying attention when you get to each station, and then you would just get off at that station. You're coming to New York but are completely overwhelmed with the process of planning your trip? Well, don't even worry about it. I got you covered, and that is why I've designed the ultimate vacation planning concierge service. With this, we will plan your entire trip so that when you get here, you can sit back and relax and not have to worry about anything. It's completely stress-free. And with that, I'd love to introduce you to my wonderful partner with this.
Hi, I'm Laura, New York City travel expert and founder of Beyond the Square. I have been planning custom itineraries and personalized vacations for travelers to New York City for over 10 years.
3 reasons why people find this service super helpful. Number 1, you just don't have time to plan a trip. Researching a trip takes time, booking things takes time, and we will do that all for you so you can actually just focus on enjoying your trip when you get there.
The next reason is because it's no secret that there are so many things to see, do, and places to eat in the city. And sometimes it can be overwhelming making a decision. What's the right fit for you and your travel party? We are able to help you narrow it down and find the best fit for you. The final and most important reason why people hire us to plan their vacation is because they actually want to enjoy their time in New York City. They want to step out onto the streets of New York with a plan in place. They want to know where they're going to be, what they're going to do, and where they're going to eat. It's really stressful to try and make those decisions when you're here. It's wonderful to have those pre-made and in your hand and ready to go.
We offer 3 tiers of services depending on your budget and how hands-on you'd like the planning to be. Our itineraries are completely customized to your unique needs. Want to focus on dining and sightseeing? Done. Planning a trip with kids? We have them and know how to do it. Have accessibility issues? I have done tours and guides on that. It is absolutely no problem. You name your interests and we will plan your trip.
Tier 1 is for the traveler who feels mostly comfortable planning their own trip, but would like to have a New York City expert give input on how to make the most of their time and what attractions they must see based on their interests. It includes a 1-hour private planning session with me where I give ideas on what you must do based on your unique interests and travel needs.
Tier 2 is for the traveler who wants a New York City expert to plan their trip for them. This takes Tier 1 a step further. After a private consultation, we'll put together the perfect step-by-step NYC itinerary for you with personalized maps to help you navigate the city.
Tier 3 is the ultimate concierge experience. Not only will you get a private consultation with a New York City expert who will plan your customized itinerary, you'll also have everything booked for you to make your travel planning stress-free.
Make sure you submit your request at least 2 weeks before your trip so that we have enough time to get you the hottest tickets in town. New York City is such an amazing place to visit.
And we can't wait to help you plan the best trip ever.
We look forward to welcoming you soon. Bye! There are some unspoken rules that all of us New Yorkers agree on that you kind of have to follow. It's not like anyone will yell at you if you don't follow them, but you'll definitely stand out and you'll definitely probably bother someone if you don't do these things. Just like there are cultural differences in big cities like Tokyo, New York, we have little special things that you'll need to know if you're coming here. Nothing phases a New Yorker, from crazy outfits to no outfit at all. Literally nothing will stop us in the street. If we are going somewhere, you could be running around naked, screaming at the top of your lungs, and we'd probably just be like, oh. And that's it. That would be the reaction. But that's also what I love about New York. It's so interesting all the time. You walk 2 blocks, you see more here in 2 blocks than you see in multiple towns around the world. It's so exciting in that way. So don't be surprised if you're visiting and you see something absolutely wild, like a naked cowgirl who's 80. That's a real thing. The craziest thing I've ever seen, are you ready for this? And still to this day, I'm like, I haven't seen anything top it. 85-year-old woman wearing dominatrix clothes, standing in the middle of Times Square, screaming at the top of her lungs and peeing all at the same time. Yeah, that was a little alarming. That one did stop me in my tracks. People play golf, hitting golf into buses. You have that clip.
I want to make sure that nobody's walking my way.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
So your goal here is just to hit it off the bus?
off the bus you can.
Okay.
If I don't, it'll go over it.
What? This is crazy. This is why I love New York City, right here. So don't be surprised if you're coming here and something crazy happens and a bunch of people are not reacting at all. It's because we see it every day. Okay, let me try to move this. Now this right here, another thing I've seen a lot of people doing Ugh, this is really hard. This is like way harder than I expected. I'm not gonna lie. People were like moving around this so much faster. Jeez, that's so hard. Why is that so hard? You try it, Lucas. Looks like easier for you. Why does it look so much easier for you? Do not take my advice on this, but I'm telling you right now. This is not legal advice. Do not blame me for anything.
Time just to be safe, so we don't know.
You cannot sue me for this. I am just telling you what I have witnessed in New York. The crosswalks. In every other city I've been to, people wait at the street to cross until it says they can cross. In New York, people do not do that. They just cross the street whenever they can cross the street. So if there's no cars coming, we just cross the street. It may say we can't cross the street, we still cross the street. Look at this. Look, it says you can't cross. There's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people crossing the street. You cannot sue me, no legal advice. This is not legal advice, I'm just telling you an observation that I have seen. New Yorkers do not wait for the crosswalk to tell them what to do, they just do it. I was in Germany and I did this because there was no cars coming at all. And I was like, oh, I'll just cross the street. And this cop comes over to me and he yells at me and he's like, do you do this in your city? And I'm like, yes. And he was like super pissed at me. Walk fast or move out of the way. I'm not trying to be mean, but we are always walking very fast here because we're always in a rush. So if you're walking at like this speed,
Oh my God!
that's fine, but please step to the side of the sidewalk because we're walking at this speed. This is the speed we're walking. Can you keep up with me? We don't say it, but we walk it. That's the New York way.
Watch your back. Watch your back. Hello, hello.
Okay, here's a perfect example. Like right behind me, there's just a line of tourists just standing. I know that there's a lot of beautiful things to take pictures of. Totally get that, totally get that. But if you want to take a picture, just go to the side of the road so you're not blocking the entire street.
Not like what we're doing, just standing in the middle of the road.
That's true, that is true, but this is for the cause. Do what I say, not what I do. Let's talk about some unspoken rules of the New York subway system. There are a lot of them. I have an entire tutorial on how to use the subway, so if you are new to New York, definitely check that out. When the train arrives, make sure everyone gets off the train before you get on it. So don't try to get in first. People will definitely get annoyed at you. They will push you back. They will literally push you back if you try to get on the train before the people that need to get off the train are able to get off. And when you get on the train, please move inward. Don't stand just by the door. Now, if it's rush hour and all the trains are packed, except for one car, don't go in that car. Trust me, it probably has a very bad smell. You don't want to experience anything that's happening in that train car. There's a reason why it's completely empty and all the other ones are packed. New Yorkers know that you shouldn't make prolonged eye contact with someone you don't know. It's kind of can be considered as a little bit rude.
We're getting lots of eye contact.
We're getting lots of eye contact right now because we're walking and filming. But that's just the standard. You don't want to just stare at people. And if you do it discreetly so they don't know you're staring. I don't know how else to say it, but it's kind of like an unsaid rule that like we just don't make eye contact with strangers. Or you do it with shades on. That's the best way. Right now, it may look like I'm not looking at the camera, but I actually am. So if you do want to stare, use sunglasses and no one will know, because I'm still looking at the camera. New Yorkers never talk to people they don't know on the street. That includes saying hi, and there's a pretty simple explanation for that. And it normally is because when someone has approached us in the past, normally means they're trying to sell us something or they want something. So as a general rule of thumb, we just don't really say hi to people on the street because it can like throw people off. Like they can think like, oh, what do you want from me? Like, why are you saying hi to me? You're gonna sell me something. Plus, there's just so many people around that it would be really difficult to say hi. It'd be like this, hi, 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 hi. That's how many people. It's an unsaid rule that we all follow, and I encourage you to also follow it so that you kind of blend in while you're here. It's always better to blend in than stand out, or I don't know, like, for the most part in New York, I'd say, because
I think you're standing out.
I'm standing out. Well, I'm standing out because you're literally walking backward with a camera.
Yeah.
and everyone's staring at us. However, on the flip side, another unsaid rule is it is okay to approach people on the street if you have a very specific question, normally relating to directions. But if you're gonna do it, you have to say it right away. You can't be like, hi, how are you? Because then they're like, whoa, what are you trying to sell me? You have to go like this. Do you know where the Chinatown ice cream factory is? That's it. Hi, do you know where the Chinatown ice cream factory is? Boom, done. Right to the point. New Yorkers, we just don't have a lot of time, so when we're talking to people we don't know, we get to the point because we understand that, you know, we're in a rush, they're in a rush, and we want to value their time as well as our own. Don't be put off if the person doesn't have time to stop and talk to you because they may be in a rush. Their train may have been delayed or entirely canceled. They could be late for an appointment, you just don't know. And also, it may be the person doesn't speak English. There's 800 languages spoken here in New York, so maybe they actually don't understand what you're saying, and in that case, New Yorkers would just ask the next person and move on. To live in New York, you have to have a really thick skin, so.
Lucas here. I am the videographer, usually behind the camera for Sarah. Do not drive in Manhattan. Why? One thing is you'll never find parking. And if you do, garages is like $13 for like half an hour. And on top of that, traffic in Manhattan is crazy. Literally, you will be stuck on one block for like half an hour. Oh, and also bonus tip, you can't turn right in New York. If it says you could turn right, then you could turn right on red. But if it doesn't say it, then you can't turn right on red.
New Yorkers always know their order before they get to the front of the line. When you're back here, this is when you look and you figure it out. And when you go up to the counter, that is when you order. The most annoying thing is when there's a long line and the person at the front of the line is just standing and being like, I don't know, you're trying to figure it out, you know? Here, we don't have time. Know your order when you're at the front, so it is fast, the service is fast, everything's good. New Yorkers have absolutely no tolerance for any of the racist, discriminatory, sexist nonsense. And that's because we are one of the most diverse cities in the entire planet. And a great example of that is here. I am at the crossroads of essentially Chinatown and Little Italy. You can see Chinese symbols this way, Italian this way. We are open-minded and we accept everyone. And we know the struggles of living in New York City, how hard it is to pay your ridiculously overpriced rent, and we always will back up other New Yorkers, other cultures, other people. So that's one of our unsaid rules. We may all be different, but we're all still in this together. And I love that about New York City.
There's nothing that bothers me more than going on vacation and finding out that I way overpaid for something. Isn't that so annoying? No one likes to waste money, and it happens to the best of us. It's happened to me, it's probably happened to you, but let's stop that right now, because if you're coming to New York, I'm gonna tell you the major things that tourists always overpay for and how you can get around it. Stay tuned till the end of this video because I will be saving the best tip for last. Let's get to the first one.
Going to attractions that are popular just because they're popular, but maybe you're not really into it. So let's say Broadway shows, right? That's the #1 thing to do in New York City. It's also quite expensive, but if you're not into musicals, if you don't like plays, then you shouldn't go to a Broadway show. You're just going to have a bad time and you're gonna waste hundreds of dollars. Another example is here, it's Coney Island. This is a very popular place to visit in the summer, but if you're not into amusement parks, then honestly, there's not really a point of you coming here and wasting your valuable time and money. Another thing in this category is passes like City Pass, for example. City Pass often, gives you a lot of different things to do for a great price. They show you it's like $138 and like an over $200 value, but look at the things on that list. Most of them are museums. If you're not into history, then going and buying a City Pass will actually waste you money. So choose what you like to do and spend your money on that. Don't feel the peer pressure. Just kidding, it's not really The Rock. I'm at Madame Tussauds. Come, there's a long ass line. Another thing tourists always overpay for is tourist attractions like Madame Tussauds. Granted, it is a cool wax museum, but keep in mind that you can do Madame Tussauds anywhere. There's so many Madame Tussauds all over the world.
Name another one then.
Madame Tussauds Las Vegas.
All right, fine, you got it.
Instead of doing that, do the other attractions that are unique to New York. Another big thing tourists always overpay for in this regard of attractions is pedicabs. These are bicycle taxis, and you'll see a big sign on it that says like $8, but then in small little text it says per minute. Do the math on that. If you're doing a 10-minute ride, it's going to be $80. So just beware of those things, and don't get trapped in these common tourist attractions by overpaying. Use your money somewhere else. Whoa. Did I scare you? Speaking of ice cream, let's talk about paying for overpriced food. That is something that happens to the best of us. Move back here so I can look at my purse. So the biggest culprit of overpriced food that isn't worth it and that tourists normally overpay for is in places like Times Square, places like the Hard Rock Cafe. Literally any food you get in Times Square is gonna be probably double the price that you would pay somewhere else. But this also goes for places that are popular on Instagram. Great example of this is Rolf's. It's a very famous restaurant for Christmas, beautiful, stunningly gorgeous, but incredibly overpriced. Instead of those places, you should go to locally owned spots in Queens, in Brooklyn, in Lower Manhattan.
Chinatown.
Chinatown is an amazing choice for this. Chinatown, you can get great budget eats. I actually have a video on that. I'll put it in the corner so you can watch that. This corner with this corner. If you're a foodie though, I do recommend a great way to save your time and money is to do my food tour that I created. You go to 5 locally owned restaurants that are award-winning and get to taste a little bit of the most popular dishes in New York City, and they're sizable portions and you'll get to taste them all, decide what you like, and that way you save your time and your money. I will link that below for you. I don't want you being in a situation where you order a dish, it's super overpriced and it's not that great. That's the worst. By far, the worst thing that tourists overpay for, they don't even mean to pay for. And that is when they accidentally get scammed. This happens a lot in Times Square, most notably with the Buddhist monks or the CD guys. Those are my personal worst enemy. But also you have things like this giant gorilla behind me, you have Elmos. All of these people will try to get money out of you, and it's not just like $1, it's like $20 at a time. So just beware of this. Watch my other videos on tourist traps. See my video where I went undercover as a tourist and got scammed multiple times, and don't let it happen to you. Look, they're interrogating this poor man. This is probably one of my greatest accomplishments in life, getting this sign put up. And you know, you could say that it wasn't just me, but I'm gonna take credit for it. By far, the biggest thing people overpay for is where they stay when they're here in New York. They'll stay in expensive hotels that, frankly, in my opinion, are completely overpriced. Most of these hotels that people want to stay in are in Times Square because a lot of people think they want to stay central, but the reality is you can stay in Long Island City, Queens, you can stay in different areas in Brooklyn, you can stay in downtown Manhattan. All of those areas are very accessible to major attractions, and it's going to be a fraction of the cost. This tip alone will save you the most money because hotels by far are the most expensive element of staying in New York. Stay outside, stay in Airbnbs, or get the best of both worlds and stay at a Sonder. I love Sonders. They're like apartments, but they're hotel quality, and they're all throughout the city and much cheaper. It's cold, it's dark out, and it's only 3:30, and it's ugly. So why is winter the best time to come to New York City? Because you're rich. And here's why. There's way less visitors in New York between January and March, so the city has to come up with incentives to get people to come and visit, which means you get way more for your money. Ever wanted to see a Broadway show but don't want to pay a gazillion dollars? Well, Broadway Week is the best time to do that. Broadway Week runs from January 17th to February 12th, and yeah, you may be thinking, that's more than a week, Sarah. You're right. It's actually more like a month, but they call it Broadway Week for some reason. So you get to see shows like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child for 2-for-1 tickets. That means if you buy one of those premium seats that are like $150, you get another one for free. And that's how you feel rich in the city in winter. Come along with me. Let's go check out these prices.
What's like a typical orchestra seat price?
Tonight, the orchestra price is $159.
So if I get that, then I would get another ticket for free.
2 tickets for $150 instead of 2 tickets for $300. We're rich, we're rich. So there's a few ways you can get those tickets. You can go to the box office like I just did. That will save you some of the ticketing fees online, or you can buy it online using code BWayWeek. It's written right here. Or you can go to the TKTS booth, which is in the middle of Times Square. It's your choice, but either way, you're saving money, and that's what's good. And because there's less visitors, the city has to incentivize more people to come here, which leads to them having to be way more creative, and that results in super interesting things to do, like this one. Pressing the elevator, just kidding. You may have seen this before, but what I'm about to show you is completely different than the typical experience. This is an ice skating rink they just added to the inside of the edge, so it's actually warm. You're not gonna be freezing, and I have a special guest with me today to help me with this experience because I'm not so good at ice skating. Laura, come on in here. You've seen her maybe in some of my videos. This is Laura. She is a content creator in the city. How are your ice skating abilities?
0.
Same, let's do it. Do you want to try ice skating? Do you want to do that? I don't know if you heard that, but she said do that. So let's do that. All right, let's do that. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Hold on like that, okay? You got it? Hold on. Wow. Yeah, this is easier like this. This is an interesting experience, that's for sure. It's hard to push this with her. Molly, you try. You know what's nice about this? You're not freezing. Like, I feel like with most ice skating, you're freezing. Plus, you have this really nice view. Well, from this way, you see Central Park. How many ice rinks have a view of Central Park? Not a lot, I'll tell you that.
That was really fun. I had a great time.
You're pretty good, actually.
I'm really good.
Because you're really good is an overstatement, Molly.
I'm like Nancy Kerrigan, but without the why.
Well, that was a whole, yeah.
Why? That's a shout out.
Why? And because there's less visitors, we have to get extra creative, like making these ice bars on rooftops. This is the Polar Lounge, and this is at One Brooklyn Bridge Hotel, and they literally have ice cocktails made with ice glasses. The table's ice, the couch is ice, the stools are ice, and you have an amazing view of the Brooklyn Bridge. And over here, look at this. Manhattan with an ice glass. Gotta be careful with these ice cocktails, they're slippery. So Laura, you rented one of the coats, which is included in the reservation.
Yes.
So like, how is it?
It's amazing. Like,
oh, really?
I'm the brand right now to buy one.
It's a moose knuckle.
Oh, okay.
It's like a luxury brand. Like it's like a Canada Goose. I think this is probably a $1,000 jacket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's very, very warm. And the gloves too.
Oh yeah, they give you gloves. I also didn't know that drinks were gonna be literally ice. Like you need gloves. And they give you little tokens for the drinks, so you don't actually pay with cash. This is exceeding all expectations. I don't know how this looks on camera, but it's crazy. It feels crazy in real life.
Yes. It's crazy to be outside in the winter, honestly.
It
I forgot about this.
I love this. Another really cool thing is we have NYC Restaurant Week, which according to this runs January 17th to February 12th. We're gonna find a cool restaurant, and here we can find crazy deals on some of the best restaurants in the city. They have like pre-fees that you never get any other time of year. Look at all these options here. What are you feeling, Lucas? You wanna do Italian? You wanna do ramen? I think we need to expand your palate. Lucas always wants to have Chinese. I think we're going to just choose the closest one because you guys are not being helpful.
Why don't you just close your eyes and do this?
This one offers a $45 lunch, a main course, an appetizer, and a dessert.
Who's paying?
God, you guys are so annoying. Oh, this one has a $30 lunch. We're gonna do that. It's a better deal.
$30.
This is ramen.
Does it come with a dessert?
It comes with a ramen set, a dessert, or you can choose the sushi combo. Surprise, surprise, we didn't go to any of those restaurants. We're actually here at Milos in Hudson Yards. This is a Greek restaurant with a really good view of the vessel. It's definitely more on the high-end side, but look at this deal we got going on here. $45, you get a first course, second, and a dessert. So that's 3 courses. If you bought these all individually, it would be well over $100. Great deal. I started with the tomato salad, which essentially is a Greek salad. We have a beautiful big block of feta right here, some Kalamata olives. You got the calamari as well, which looks super tasty. Our main courses have arrived. I got the fish of the day, which looks absolutely delicious. A cool thing about this spot actually is they have a giant bar filled with all of these huge fish, and you can choose any fish you want, and they will cook it right there for you. It's so unique. Dessert has arrived. We ordered one of every dessert, which can come with your $45 menu. This is a caridopita, which I hope I'm saying right. It is a spiced Greek walnut cake with honey lavender ice cream, which sounds very interesting. I need to try this ice cream. I taste the honey, but I don't taste the lavender. I'm wondering if I missed it. There's little pieces of lavender in there. A lot of that nice creamy honey taste. This is our classic Greek yogurt with honey. You have some walnuts on top as well. Ooh, that is nice and creamy. You see that? I love a good Greek yogurt. I have Greek yogurt every morning. This is way better than what I have. Anyway, the point of this is to show you how much you get for $45 at a high-end restaurant that would normally cost over $100. And that's the beauty of New York Restaurant Week. Remember, this runs through mid-February. Do not miss it. And if you can, plan your trip around it because you're gonna be saving tons of money. Another crazy benefit is Hotel Week, which runs from January 2nd to February 13th. And yeah, it's not a week, but it's a way that you can get up to 23% off some of the best hotels in the city. They're all listed on this website right here that you're seeing on the screen. I'll also put a link in the video description. Hotels are normally the most expensive part of your trip in New York. That is, unless you stay on the outside boroughs. So I do recommend checking out Hotel Week while you're here because you can stay in some of the ones that are normally crazy expensive for like way cheaper of a price. And I'll take that any day. Another cool thing is we have New York Musty Week. This one runs from January 17th to February 12th and includes buy one, get one tickets to attractions, tours, museums. Literally, if you just go on this list, there's so many things. Top of the Rock, Rise, which I love, big fan of Rise. I'll put my promo code right there. City Winery, the Museum of Broadway, like so many cool things.
New York City has just become the most expensive city in the world. And for us locals, it makes sense. Today's video is meant to help you out if you are coming to New York City by providing you with a general idea of what you'll likely spend. My goal is simply to give you realistic numbers to budget your trip with. I'll also provide tips on how you can save money and what things are not worth spending on. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Sarah, a licensed New York City tour guide and local New Yorker who makes videos on traveling and living in New York City. Also, as an added bonus to make your life easier, I've included my 3-day NYC guide in the link below so that your vacation planning is easier. So let's begin. One of the most expensive categories is lodging. So let's start there because you're going to need a place to sleep. Hotels start at around $300 per night at a bare minimum across most of Manhattan and are the highest priced in Midtown, which is where most tourists stay because it is near Times Square. The price will be more than this during certain times of year. For example, the holiday season has the highest hotel rates. To save money, you could stay in an Airbnb, which runs from around $215 up, or stay at a Sonder, which is a short-term apartment rental. I've seen Sonders as low as $174 for a studio in Lower Manhattan. Another strategy to save money is to visit between January and March, which is when tourism is lower and the hotel rates will be cheaper then. I have a video all about this time of year linked below, so check that out. However, the best hack is to stay in the outer boroughs to save money. Here you're gonna find the cost of lodging will drop a lot, but you will have to commute into Manhattan to do most of the famous sightseeing and see the most popular tourist attractions. I recommend staying in Long Island City, Queens, personally. Here you're only a 10-minute subway ride from Midtown, but the cost of hotels start as low as $119 per night. This price difference is more than worth the cost of the subway ride in my opinion, which is around $2.75 per ride. Plus, it only takes 15 minutes to get to Times Square from Long Island City. For the sake of this video, let's use the average hotel price of $300 per night for a room, plus the 8.875% sales and use tax, the 5.875% hotel room occupancy tax, and the $2 New York State hotel unit daily fee. Yes, these are all sadly actual additional fees in New York City. That brings the total cost to around $350 per night, give or take, giving you a weekly fee of $2,450 for lodging. If you're staying with more people
people, then this price will go down per person. And for your sake, I hope you are, because that is a lot of money. Next, let's talk about transportation. You'll need to get around when you're here, and the best and most cost-efficient way to do that is to use our subway. You can do this for only $2.75 a ride. And now there are contactless payment scanners at almost every entrance, so you can simply tap your credit card. This is much more efficient to use than getting a physical Metro card from the machines, and cheaper since the physical Metro cards cost $1, which is a one-time fee in addition to the cost of the subway ride. The other benefit of using contactless payment upon entry to the subway is that once you take 12 rides within a week period, every ride after your 12th ride will be free until the following week. It is essentially a free way to ride the train after an initial investment of $33 worth of rides, technically. So I recommend budgeting around $33 per week for transportation if you only plan on using public transportation. However, if you saw my recent video on crime in New York, then you've heard that the subway has had an increase in crime. Most New Yorkers still take it. If you prefer not to take it, then you're going to have to take a car, and that does get very expensive quickly. Here are some of the average costs of getting from the airport to Manhattan. Shockingly, getting around Manhattan isn't much cheaper. The average ride from uptown to downtown and vice versa will be around $30 or more normally, depending on the time of day. But to help you save some money, here are some promo codes that you can use for Lyft, Uber, and Revel. So as we have established, New York City is very expensive, and food and drink prices are in line with that here, unfortunately. So on screen, I put the average price ranges for typical meals for your reference. I recommend you plan to spend money in this category because our food and drink scene is one of the best in the world, and you'll want to experience that. After all, we do have 73 Michelin-starred restaurants here. I have an entire video about the top-rated restaurants in the city, and I'll link that below for you as a resource. Here are the average prices you can expect at most bars in the city. There are some places that have happy hour specials during the weekday afternoons that have cocktails for less than $10, although this is a bit harder to find. Now listen up, because I'm about to give you an amazing hack to save money in the city. It's an app called Seated, and if you book your dining through the app, then take a photo of the receipt after you dine and submit it through their app, they will give you cash back on the meal up to 30% of the original cost. So that means that if you spend $100 on a meal, you will get $30 back right away. I use this all the time, and it helps me save money a lot. And since I have an account, if you use my promo code Sarah2352, you'll get an additional $15 back after your first meal, and then I get $15 towards a future meal for myself. It costs nothing extra to you, and I greatly appreciate it. It's like you're buying me an overpriced cocktail in New York City to thank me, and I sure love that. Although I don't love the overpriced part, but it is what it is. I would recommend that you budget around $150 a day for food and drink per person. This would be around $1,050 weekly. Some meals may take a larger part of that budget, for example, a Michelin-starred restaurant. And some cheap eats, like my beloved Los Tacos Numero Uno, will take up less of the budget, but still make your taste buds very happy. So that would bring our total weekly cost to around $3,533. Finally, let's talk about things to do. Luckily, most of the famous sightseeing can be done for $0, and you can see all of the most iconic sites for free. This includes the Brooklyn Bridge, Central Park, the Empire State Building, Times Square, and the Statue of Liberty. However, you won't get much context as to what you're looking at, so I do recommend doing a walking tour on your first day that you're here. For that, I would recommend booking one of my New York City tours to save you time. Now, if you're a first timer, my Musty Manhattan tour shows you all of the most iconic sites in the city in 2 hours, which saves you time and gives you context and insight as to what you're seeing. For foodies, my Best of New York food tour brings you to 5 tasty eateries and you'll get to try the classic New York City foods in 3 hours. These are very large portions. Most people just call it a walking lunch. Many museums have free days or pay what you wish, which can save you tons of money. I have an article below about all of the free museums in the city, so that will be a great reference to you. There are 5 observation decks right now, and I recommend Summit OV, Top of the Rock, or Edge. If you join the Musty Manhattan tour, we actually drop you off at Top of the Rock, and then you can go up and see the beautiful views, which makes your planning process way easier. So let's budget around $50 per day for activities. This comes to around $350 per week and brings our total cost to visit the city in 1 week to be $3,883, or a little under $4,000. Yes, I know it's expensive, but I'm giving you a realistic budget given the current numbers and prices. Please note that lodging takes up more than 50% of this budget, so if you find cheaper lodging than the average Midtown hotel cost, this number will go down a lot. This number will also go down a lot if you are traveling with a group and are going to split the cost of lodging. There are so many things to do in the city, and I understand how it can be overwhelming to visit here. So after watching this video, I would recommend you watch my 3-day guide to the city. In it, I walk you through what I recommend you do for your first days of your trip, and you can also get a PDF guide via the link below. Now, if you want a more custom experience, I can help you plan your vacation here too via my VIP concierge services, so that link will be below.
Visit a rooftop bar instead of an observation deck. Your average observation deck is going to cost you around $39 per person. However, you can get amazing views like this one and a cocktail for less than that. Pretty sweet, right? Well, I'm here at Overstory. This is on the iconic Art Deco building 70 Pine, and they have a fabulous cocktail bar on the roof. This drink is called Easy Money. It's a gourmet take on a vodka soda, and this one is their terroir cocktail, which is a more gourmet take on an old fashioned. They have a homemade honeycomb on the top. Let's give it a shot. Yes. I feel like I'm James Bond or something, or Jane Bond, looking at this view. This to me is by far the best view of any rooftop bar in the entire city. Now, to get reservations to Overstory, you do need to make them about 15 days in advance. It's really the only way to secure your spot here. I recommend making them sometime during sunset, but this is a great way to experience a beautiful view of Manhattan while still saving money versus going to an observation deck. And there's many other rooftop bars besides this one. I have an entire guide to different rooftop bars in the city, so definitely check that one out. A great way to save some money is to go thrift shopping. Now, if you spend less than $110 on any purchase, whether it's thrift shopping or not, as long as it's clothing, you are exempt from the 4% sales tax in New York. Isn't that pretty cool? So try to aim to buy things under $110. Now, if you're talking about the best place to go thrift shopping or vintage shopping, my personal favorite is Vintage Thrift. This is where you can get some really beautiful designer clothes from different eras and even from today for super cheap. Now, I have an entire map of the best vintage and thrift shops in the city, so if you're interested in that type of stuff, make sure you click the link below and get access to all the goods. Another great option is to go to the outlets. This is where you can find designer clothes that you would see on Fifth Avenue, but at a much lower price. So you can look fabulous while still on a budget. There are 3 main ones in New York City: Woodbury Commons, Jersey Gardens, and Empire Outlets in Staten Island. I actually recommend doing Empire Outlets in Staten Island if you are on a really serious budget, because it is the only one that is completely free to get to. Plus, while you're on your way there, you just take the Staten Island Ferry, you get a really close-up view of the Statue of Liberty, and then walk a few blocks to Empire Outlets, where you're gonna find all of the stores, restaurants, bars, and beautiful views of New York City. And that is not all you need to know while you're here. I have several other 100-hour guides that you should check out on all different topics, such as the best things to do, restaurants, budget travel, tips, scams, and so much more. All of those will be linked below. And remember to pick up my free 3-day itinerary or join one of my NYC tours to optimize your experience while you're here. I hope you have an amazing time.